So why do you remove cedar on your property?
For one thing, cedar uses up some of the groundwater, and we need all we can get in central Texas because this is kind of somewhat of an arid area. We get into droughts, and then also with cedar, nothing hardly grows under a cedar tree. It just ruins the land, in my opinion. It takes up space, it takes up grazing space for the cattle and so forth. So it has some uses in that certain wildlife utilizes the cedar, certain types of environments with in combination with oak trees and so forth for the.
So can you describe maybe like the process of how you remove your cedars, or like where you keep them and where you don't?
We've removed most of them over the years, and we did this by mostly we have come in and just done it with chainsaws and rented a dozer for a couple of weeks on different occasions, and I would go through and push the cedars over there. And so sometimes I do that, but a lot of times I just do it with chainsaws.
How would like knowing prior, like you being able to gauge your own density, help in the process of removing cedar?
Well, I mean, if I didn't have a significant density, you know, I wouldn't really have any reason to take it off other than trying to control it on the regrowth before it got too bad. And so it's not much of a problem at first, other than the fact that you don't want to let it get ahead of you too much. But I can gauge pretty well, like we've got regrowth now in different places, and sometimes I think about, well, maybe I need to get the NRSC involved too, but it's such small acreage and what have you that I haven't really pursued that, and because there's red berries and blueberry cedars, and the blueberries are actually easier to control because they kind of have a single trunk, and you can cut them off at the base down below any of the forage and what have you, and cut them off, and you've pretty well taken care of that particular plant. But the red berries have multiple trunks, so to speak, coming out of the ground, and you have to pretty much somehow dig those up, or you can spray them and kill the whole plant, but otherwise you have to pretty well grub them up, and they're much more challenging to control. But the berries that they produce, of course, they fall on the ground, and there's millions and millions of them, and then the birds and the wildlife eat them, and then especially the birds, well, they distribute them all over the country, and then the birds will get in the trees, and then they'll pass those seeds through and drop them on the ground under the trees, and then that's a problem in that you can't spray those, because when you do, most of the sprays will affect the trees that you don't want to damage. So in that case, you have to get under there pretty much and hand cut those, but the birds do a good job of spreading the cedars around. Some areas are so thick that I can't even really walk through there, and the drones help to identify them and have the concentration, and then also that's evidence if you're trying to work with a program to take that in and show that to the powers that be, like the NRCS or whoever might want evidence that you have a thick concentration of the cedar, which would justify maybe financial aid and so forth to